The morning call to prayer echoed across Beirut as Layla Mansour gripped the steering wheel of her aging Toyota, weaving through traffic with the desperation of someone watching their dreams slip away. She was 40 minutes late to the meeting that would determine whether Mansour Architecture survived another month. Her father had built the firm over 30 years, designing buildings that shaped the city's skyline. Then cancer had taken him last year, leaving Layla and her sister Dina with a legacy drowning in debt and a handful of loyal employees she couldn't bear to lay off. Today's investors were her last hope. The traffic light ahead turned yellow and Layla pressed harder on the accelerator, her portfolio bouncing on the passenger seat beside her. She could make it. She had to make it. But the black Mercedes ahead had different plans. Brake lights flared without warning, and Layla's foot slammed down too late. The crunch of metal meeting metal sent her heart into her throat, the impact jolting through her entire body. For a moment, everything went silent except for her ragged breathing. Then the driver's door of the Mercedes opened, and out stepped a man who looked like he'd never experienced a single inconvenience in his entire privileged life. Karim Al-Rahman stood tall in the morning sun, his tailored suit unmarred despite the collision, dark hair perfectly styled, and eyes that burned with cold fury. Layla recognized him instantly. Everyone in Beirut knew the real estate mogul who'd transformed half the city's waterfront. She scrambled out of her car, her professional dress already wrinkled from the morning's chaos, portfolio clutched against her chest like armor. "Do you have any idea what you've just done?" His voice cut through the air, sharp and imperious. Something in Layla snapped. She'd spent a year being polite to creditors, apologizing to vendors, begging banks for extensions. She was done being apologetic. "Yes, actually," she shot back, her dark eyes flashing. "I hit your car because you stopped without warning in the middle of an intersection. Were you taking a business call? Checking property listings?" Karim's eyebrows rose, genuine surprise crossing his features. Clearly, he wasn't used to people talking back. "There was a motorcycle cutting through traffic," he said, his tone dangerous. "Perhaps if you'd been paying attention instead of driving recklessly, you would have noticed. Perhaps if your sense of self-importance wasn't blocking the entire road, I could have stopped in time." Layla planted her hands on her hips, refusing to be intimidated. "Some of us have actual problems beyond a scratched bumper." "Do you know who I am?" The question came out incredulous, as if the concept of someone not recognizing him was impossible. "Should I?" Layla raised an eyebrow. "Let me guess. You're some developer who thinks money exempts you from basic courtesy." A muscle twitched in Karim's jaw. Around them, passers-by had stopped to watch, some recording on their phones. "Beirut love drama. I'm Karim Al-Rahman, CEO of Al-Rahman Developments," he said, as if that should make her cower. When her expression remained defiant, something shifted in his gaze. "And you are?" Layla Mansour, owner of a struggling architecture firm who was on her way to the most important meeting of her life before this disaster. Her voice cracked slightly on the last word, reality crashing back. "So congratulations on ruining my morning. I hope your insurance covers the damage to your precious car." She turned toward her Toyota, blinking back furious tears, when his voice stopped her. "Wait." Layla turned back, expecting more arrogance. Instead, Karim was looking at her with an expression she couldn't decipher, curiosity mixed with something almost like respect. "You have an important meeting," he said. It wasn't a question, had. Past tense. Layla gestured at the damaged cars. "By the time we exchange information and deal with this mess, my investors will have moved on." Karim pulled out his phone, made a brief call in that clipped, authoritative tone that probably moved millions. When he finished, he looked at her again. "My driver will handle the insurance and arrange towing." "Where's your meeting?" Layla blinked. "Excuse me, your meeting?" "I'll drive you." He said it like it was perfectly reasonable. Why would you do that?" "Because despite what you think, I'm not completely heartless." Karim's voice softened marginally. "And because you're right. I was distracted on a call. I'm partly responsible for this situation." It was the closest thing to an apology Layla had heard. It surprised her enough that her anger deflated slightly. "I don't need charity from a billionaire with a guilty conscience," she said, but her voice had lost its edge. "It's not charity. It's taking responsibility." He gestured toward the undamaged Mercedes. "And you're already late. Do you really want to waste more time arguing?" Layla looked at her Toyota, its front crew. Its front crumpled beyond immediate repair, then at Kareem's expectant expression. Every instinct screamed not to trust him. But she desperately needed to reach that meeting. Fine, she said finally. But only because I'm desperate. And for the record, I still think you're arrogant. Kareem's lips curved into an unexpected smile that transformed his entire face. Noted. And for the record, I think you're the most stubborn woman I've ever encountered. I'll take that as a compliment. It was meant as one. The interior of his Mercedes smelled like leather and expensive cologne. Layla sat rigidly in the passenger seat, portfolio on her lap, acutely aware of the man beside her. Where to? He asked, his voice surprisingly gentle. Downtown. The Cedar Building. She paused. You know it, I designed the restoration 5 years ago. Kareem glanced at her. You're meeting with venture partners? Layla's stomach dropped. How did you know? They're in the Cedar Building. And they typically invest in architecture and development. He navigated through traffic with practiced ease. What are you proposing? Why do you care? Because I'm curious about the woman who yelled at me in traffic and didn't care that I could buy her entire world. That's not impressive. That's just economic inequality, Layla muttered. Kareem laughed, a real laugh that made him seem younger, more human. There it is again. You really don't care about my money, do you? Should I? Money doesn't make you a good person. My father died with barely enough to cover his funeral, but he was worth 10 of you. The words came out harsher than she intended. Kareem was quiet for a moment. I'm sorry about your father, he said softly. Truly, something in his tone made Layla look at him. For just a moment, she saw past the expensive suit and perfect hair to something raw underneath. Thank you, she whispered. They drove the rest of the way in silence, but it felt different now, less hostile, more contemplative. When they pulled up to the Cedar Building, Layla reached for the door handle, then paused. Thank you for the drive. Despite everything, this was decent of you. You're welcome, Layla Mansour. The way he said her name sent an unexpected warmth through her chest. She got out quickly, before she could analyze that feeling, and walked toward the building without looking back. But she felt his eyes on her the entire way. The meeting exceeded Layla's expectations. The investors loved her designs for sustainable, community-integrated housing, the kind of architecture her father had dreamed of but never had resources to build. This is exactly the vision we're looking for, said Nadim Haddad, the senior partner. Beirut needs development that serves people, not just profits. Layla's heart soared. Finally, something was going right. We're actually in partnership with Al Rahman Developments on several projects, Nadim continued, and Layla's euphoria crumbled. The final approval will need Kareem's sign-off, but I'll personally recommend your firm. Of course. Of course, Kareem Al Rahman had his fingers in this too. Layla left the building in a daze, her mind spinning. The man whose car she'd crashed into that morning now held her professional future in his hands. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Hello? Layla, this is Rania, assistant to Kareem Al Rahman. The woman's voice was crisp, professional. Mr. Al Rahman wanted to inform you that your car has been towed to Haddad's garage on Hamra Street. Repairs will take approximately 10 days. Mr. Al Rahman has covered the costs. He what? Layla's voice came out strangled. Covered the repair costs. He insisted, given his role in the accident. When the call ended, Layla stood on the sidewalk, completely confused. Who was Kareem Al Rahman? The arrogant billionaire who'd looked at her like an inconvenience? Or the man who'd driven her to her meeting and paid for repairs without being asked? That evening, as Layla worked late in her father's old office, surrounded by blueprints and memories, her phone rang again. Kareem. She stared at the number, her thumb hovering over decline. Then, driven by curiosity she'd later regret, she answered. Yes? Have dinner with me. No preamble, just that commanding voice that probably moved mountains. No. Why not? Because you control whether I get funding for the biggest project of my career. Because there's a massive power imbalance. Because I don't date men who could destroy my business on a whim. I would never do that, his voice turned fierce. Your work is exceptional, Layla. That has nothing to do with how I feel. How you feel, her heart hammered. You don't even know me. I know you fight for what you believe in. I know you're not impressed by money or status. I know you make me feel something I haven't felt in years, he paused. Maybe ever. Layla closed her eyes, fighting the pull in her chest. Kareem, this can't work. Why not? Because you're you and I'm me. We live in different worlds. Then let me into yours, his voice softened. One dinner, Layla. If you still think we're too different, I'll walk away. I promise. Against every logical instinct, Layla heard herself whisper, one dinner. Kareem picked her up at 7, dressed casually in dark jeans and a white shirt that made him look devastatingly handsome and approachable. He held a single jasmine flower. My mother's favorite, he said, almost shyly. I thought you might prefer it to roses. Layla took the flower, feeling her defenses crack. I do. Thank you. They went to a small restaurant in Mar Mikhail, far from the glittering downtown where Kareem usually spent his time. It was intimate and warm, with Arabic music playing softly and the scent of grilled meat filling the air. How did you find this place? Layla asked as they settled at a corner table. I asked your sister. Kareem's smile was boyish. Dina was very helpful once I explained I was trying to win you over. You contacted my sister? Strategic information gathering, he said with a grin that made her laugh despite herself. Over dinner, they talked. Really talked. Kareem told her about growing up wealthy but lonely, parents who valued success over connection, the pressure of building an empire while losing himself in the process. Layla shared her own story, her father's passion for architecture, the struggle to keep his dream alive, the weight of responsibility she carried for her employees and Dina's medical school tuition. I always thought having money solved everything, Kareem admitted. But it just created different problems. Everyone wants something. Every conversation has an agenda. He reached across the table, his fingers brushing hers. Until you crashed into my car and told me exactly what you thought without caring about consequences. To be fair, I didn't know who you were. Exactly. You saw me. Just me. Not my money or company or connections. His hand fully covered hers now, warm and solid. You weren't impressed. I wouldn't say that, Layla admitted, feeling her cheeks warm. I was just too angry to show it. They were laughing when the restaurant door opened and a woman walked in like she owned the place. Soraya Khalil was everything Layla wasn't, tall, elegant, dripping with diamonds and designer clothes, moving with the confidence of someone who'd never doubted her place in the world. She spotted Kareem immediately, her perfect smile widening. There you are, darling. Your mother said I might find you here. Soraya's gaze swept over Layla dismissively before returning to Kareem. We need to discuss the foundation gala. The committee expects us both to attend. Kareem's entire demeanor shifted, tension rolling through his shoulders. Soraya, what are you doing here? Looking for my fiancé, obviously. Soraya's laugh was like crystal breaking. This little break of ours has gone on long enough, don't you think? Layla felt ice flood her veins. Your fiancé? Ex-fiancé, Kareem said quickly, his eyes desperate on Layla. Soraya and I ended our engagement 8 months ago. A temporary separation, Soraya corrected smoothly. Everyone knows we're meant to be together. We move in the same circles, understand the same world. Her gaze flicked to Layla. Unlike some people who are clearly out of their depth. Layla's face burned with humiliation and fury. She stood abruptly, grabbing her bag. You know what? This was a mistake. Thank you for dinner, Kareem. Soraya, congratulations on your impeccable taste. Layla, wait. Kareem stood, reaching for her. Don't, she pulled away from his touch. You were right earlier. We do live in different worlds. I should have remembered that. She walked out into the night, ignoring Karim calling her name, ignoring the tears burning in her eyes. By the time she reached the street, she was running. For 2 weeks, Layla threw herself into work, burying her hurt beneath blueprints and client meetings. Karim tried everything: flowers delivered daily, messages she deleted unread, even showing up at her office only to be turned away by her assistant. Then disaster struck. Her largest client, a hotel chain that represented 40% of her firm's income, abruptly canceled their contract. The reason? Restructuring. The reality? They'd gone with a larger, more established firm. Layla sat in her father's office at midnight, staring at numbers that wouldn't add up to survival, when her phone rang. Karim. She almost didn't answer. But exhaustion made her weak. What do you want? I heard about the hotel contract. His voice was rough with concern. Layla, are you okay? How did you know about that? I keep track of the industry. When I heard, I thought of you immediately. A pause. Talk to me. How bad is it? She was too tired to maintain walls. Bad. I might have to close the firm. Lay off people who've been with us for decades. Let me help. Please. No, Karim. I don't want your money. I don't want your pity or your guilt. That's not what this is. Then what is it? Her voice cracked. Because it looks like you feel bad about your ex humiliating me, and now you want to throw money at the problem. I'm in love with you. The words exploded into the silence. That's what this is. I'm in love with you, Layla, and watching you struggle while I could help is killing me. Layla couldn't breathe. You can't be. I am. I know you fight for what matters. I know you refuse to compromise your principles even when it costs you. I know you make me want to be better than I am. His voice dropped. And I know I haven't been able to think straight since you yelled at me in traffic. We barely know each other. Then let me know you. Let me be there while you fight this battle. Not with money, I know you won't accept that. But with support, with connections, with whatever you'll allow. Layla closed her eyes, tears finally spilling over. I'm scared. Be scared with me, Karim whispered. Take a chance on this. On us. The next morning, Layla arrived at her office to find something impossible. 3 of her former clients, businesses she'd worked with years ago, had called wanting to commission new projects. Small jobs, but enough to help. She called Karim immediately. You did this. I mentioned to some business associates that there's an exceptional architect in Beirut who's available. His tone was careful. What they chose to do with that information was their decision. That's splitting hairs. Layla, I didn't give you money. I didn't pay your bills. I opened a door, you have to walk through it. These clients are coming back because your work is exceptional, not because I bribed them. She wanted to argue. But she was so tired of fighting, so tired of being alone. Why? She whispered. Why do you care this much? Because you're real, Karim said simply. In a world of people who want something from me, you just want me to be better. That's rare. That's precious. That's worth fighting for. Layla sat in silence, her heart waging war with her head. One more chance, she finally said. But Karim, if Soraya shows up again. She won't. I've made it clear we're finished. She knows about you now. About how I feel, he paused. The whole city probably knows. I'm not exactly subtle when I'm in love. Despite everything, Layla smiled. No, you're really not. Is that a yes? To us trying again? It's a maybe, she said. Prove to me this is real. Challenge accepted. Karim's idea of proving himself wasn't flowers or expensive gifts. Instead, he showed up at her office the next morning with coffee and a simple question. Teach me about your father's architecture philosophy. Layla blinked. What? You said he dreamed of buildings that served communities. I want to understand. Kareem settled into the chair across from her desk. Teach me. So she did. She showed him her father's sketches, explained his vision of sustainable development that enhanced neighborhoods rather than displacing them. Kareem listened with genuine interest, asking thoughtful questions, taking notes. This is brilliant, he said finally. Why isn't anyone building like this? Because it's more expensive upfront. Investors want quick returns, not long-term community benefit. Kareem was quiet for a long moment. Then, I have a project. A waterfront development that's been stalled for months because I can't find the right vision. He looked at her intently. I want you to lead the design. But Layla, this is separate from us. You'll earn this based on merit. If we don't work out personally, the project is still yours. Kareem, I can't. Yes, you can. Your father's philosophy is exactly what this city needs. Let me give you the platform to build his dream. He slid a folder across her desk. This is the proposal. Look it over. If you're interested, pitch me like any other client. No special treatment. Layla opened the folder with shaking hands. The project was massive, mixed-use development with residential, commercial, and community spaces. The budget made her head spin. This is too much. It's what you deserve. Kareem stood. Think about it. I'll wait for your answer. Layla spent 3 days creating the most comprehensive proposal of her life. She poured her father's vision into every page, designing buildings that would serve people across all economic levels, creating community gardens and public spaces, incorporating sustainable technology. When she presented to Kareem and his board, she forgot he was the man she was falling in love with. He was just another client she needed to convince. Her passion convinced them. When can you start? Kareem asked after the unanimous vote. Immediately, Layla breathed, barely believing this was real. That evening, Kareem took her to the waterfront site at sunset. The Mediterranean stretched before them, golden and endless. My father would have loved this, Layla whispered. Then we'll build something worthy of his memory. Kareem took her hand. Together. Layla turned to face him, this complicated man who'd entered her life through collision and chaos. I'm still scared. So am I. Kareem cupped her face gently. But I'd rather be scared with you than safe without you. When he kissed her, Beirut glowed around them, a city of contradictions and beauty, of old world meeting new. Layla kissed him back, tasting possibility and promise, feeling the last of her walls crumble. I love you, she whispered against his lips. I don't know when it happened, but I love you. Kareem's smile was radiant. I know exactly when it happened. The moment you yelled at me in traffic and weren't impressed by anything except my ability to admit I was wrong. Layla laughed, pulling him closer. You were distracted on a call. Best distraction of my life. They stood there as the sun set over the water, two people from different worlds building something new together, not just buildings, but a future where love mattered more than money, where partnership transcended status, where collision led to connection. Months later, when the first community center opened in their development, Layla unveiled a plaque, Mansour Al-Rahman Community Architecture, building dreams that serve everyone. Kareem pulled her close, kissing her temple. Your father would be proud. So would yours, Layla said, because she'd learned that Kareem's father, for all his faults, had taught his son the value of hard work. They'd learned to honor both their pasts while building their future. And it all started with a crash that changed everything.